Thank you again for coming today. I'm Sharon Ross, and I think Carl really doesn't really need any kind of introduction.
I would like one, though.
You would like one? Okay.
I want to hear what you think about me.
I have come prepared.
Okay.
Carl has done a lot, but some of his highlights include, and I'm going to show favoritism here in terms of my favorites. Theater brought him to Chicago with Call Me Mister very early on in his career.
1947, before your parents were born.
Precisely. And you even stayed in a hotel very near where I live now.
The New Lawrence Hotel. Robbie Reiner, who is now world-renowned as a director, was 6 weeks old when we moved into the New Lawrence Hotel. Murphy bed, a little kitchen in the same room, one room, Murphy bed and kitchen, little tiny hot plate, no bigger than this little area here. And that was the happiest days of our lives. My wife and I have decided that day, one room with a little 6-week-old baby for 6 weeks to 6 months, happiest time of my life, really.
I believe that. I believe that about you. You seem honest. In film.
Don't tell my other children that.
Oh, all right. I won't tell Annie.
No, because I had happy times with each one of them.
In film, happy memories for me at least come from your work on The Jerk and Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. And of course, Ocean's 11 as an actor very, very recently, which is one of my favorite roles of you. Novels, Enter Laughing.
Yes.
Different mediums here.
Oh, you have good taste.
Thank you. My husband told me he'd shoot me if I don't mention The 2,000-Year-Old Man, because that is his favorite work that you've done.
No, but he never should shoot you for something that small. I mean, you probably deserve to be shot, but not for that.
He's going to agree with you on that count. And of course, TV, our personal favorite medium here in the TV department. Your Show of Shows, a favorite among many of our sketch comedy students. Dick Van Dyke, of course, favorite enough that we had a class on it.
That I love that.
And you've even very recently been on sitcoms, 2.5 Men, and drama with House very recently as well. So quite the range. It's impressive.
I'm not impressed. I expect that much of me.
You expect that of yourself? Well, I'm intrigued the most by the fact that your career really seems to have started with theater. And any of my history students here today? Hopefully, yes, thank you, good. In our history of class on the very first day, we emphasized the importance of vaudeville theater to TV and the debt TV owes to vaudeville theater. And the biggest part of that being live entertainment. I was wondering if you could tell us what you think the advantage is of an audience getting to see something performed live.
Oh, you're kept honest. Now, when we did the Dick Van Dyke Show, we had an audience, and this is interesting, we had an audience of about 200-300 people. And there were shows being done without audiences, but the electronically, the laughs were put in. And it was up to somebody looking at, Aaron Rubin and I did a sketch once about people using what they call the laugh box, where they look at something. And we did a sketch of a guy doing, these two guys not knowing what they're looking at. Anything that came across, they were told to put, and all of a sudden, it was Raymond Massey was doing Abe Lincoln. He was doing speeches from Abe Lincoln on the Ed Sullivan Show, but it was the Ed Sullivan Show. They said, probably a comedian, you know. Oh, he says, who's that? I said, I don't know. He says, that hat is funny. Give it a little ruffle. and we wrote this sketch where Abe Lincoln says, you know, he walks in, he got a ruffle for his hat because a little giggle, and then he says, 407 years. That's a laugh. He's what? He's mixing score and years. A score, 2 and 2 is 4. You know, a score and years. That's big. And we laughed. We laughed up the whole Gettysburg Address, and that's what was happening in television. When these shows, it would be up to a guy who had a fairly bad sense of humor, saying, "Yeah, he came through the door and he's got bundles. That's sort of funny. He's carrying heavy bundles." Give it a little, who laughs at somebody carrying bundles? You know? But I mean, that was it. So the Van Dyke Show and the the Danny Thomas Show, there were a few shows. Lucy was done with an audience. And it was the only way to go. If the laugh wasn't there, and when we edited the shows were usually a minute or 2 or 3 minutes longer, and you would edit out the things that didn't get a laugh, instead of saying, we'll put a little laugh in. And it was the only time we ever used that little laugh box was when when there was a laughter was intrusive. Sometimes you get a laugh, you have 200 people, everybody tickles somebody. Somebody laughs funny, you get the laugh will grow, and it's not worth what the joke just. The joke respectfully got a laugh, and then it got too much, so we'd have to cut the laugh. And in cutting the laugh, the only thing repair would be the guy with the giggle box used to fade the laugh out. That would fade a yeah. He'd go, he'd fade it out. He'd add that. So that was the only thing. And we were so upset with people using the giggle box. And that was interesting because on the Van Dyke show, they really were, that really was a funny group of people, and they delivered it funny, and the laughs were so honest that Charlie Douglas, the guy who had the laugh machine, he threw out all of his laughs, which he had for years collected, and he used all of the Van Dyke show laughs for all of his other shows. And one time, and Barbara Bain, who used to come, and Marty Landau, they were married at the time, they came to all our, they were friends at the time, they came to all of the shows, and Barbara had a real distinctive big laugh, and you could hear her on the laugh track. And then I'm hearing another show, and I hear Barbara's I say, Barbara, you're a star in a few shows. They kept using that laugh track, and I hated that. I hated the fact that they were, if it's funny, the audience will tell you whether it's funny. If it's not funny, cut it out. Or don't put a laugh in. If it dies, that's always another thing too. When you're in a real theater and you're seeing a movie, some laughs are big, some are small, some you don't laugh at all, but you remember some as being very, very appreciative of something funny, but you didn't laugh at it. And anyway, that's to answer your question.
Keeps it real.
Yeah, keep it real. Keep it real, keep it real.
Oh, you're going to sing and dance now too? Because we might ask you to do that. One of the things I love about your body of work in general.
I thought you said you love about my body.
That's private. We discussed what stays private, Carl.
Yeah, that's right.
Your body
we didn't even talk backstage. Okay.
We just met. One of the things I love about your work in general is that your writing and your acting shows an appreciation for a level of absurdity in everyday life. And this has led to, I think, some real risk-taking in the stories that you've created. And some of the examples I'm thinking of are in the film Where's Papa, how you have a character who's hoping his mom will die sooner rather than later. How in your play, Something Different, you have a set of identical twins, but one is black and one is white. Right. And Dick Van Dyke episodes, like one of my personal favorites, Blonde-Haired Brunette, where Laura dyes her hair back and forth from blonde to brunette. That's My Boy, where they're convinced that they've brought the wrong baby home from the hospital. And of course, It May Look Like a Walnut, which for Dick Van Dyke fans, everyone's going to know the walnut episode. So what is it about you that draws you to such absurd stories?
Well, you always look for something that will tickle you. Don't try to tickle an audience. Don't say the audience will like this. You work for yourself. You say, this makes me laugh, and I'm not that different than anybody else. If it makes me laugh, it'll probably make other people laugh. I remember sitting, and I remember exactly, I said, gee, I've done all kinds of shows, takeoffs of shows, and satires, and I said, and subjects that hadn't been tried before. And I said, I'd love to do a takeoff of the Twilight Zone. I love the Twilight Zone. I said, how am I going to do that? Of course, the easy way to do it, and I did it the easy way, was it was a dream sequence. He goes to bed at night watching the Twilight movie, and he wakes up, and the interesting, why I remember that very well is I wrote it, and I was so excited about it. I thought it was hilarious. And we read it around the table, and Sheldon Leonard, who was the best executive producer anybody, he came to all of the readings, and he made his comments, and he left us to our devices. Because he trusted me because I was the creator of the Dick Van Dyke Show and the producer of it, so he figured I would know, at least I would protect my own show. So he always made his comments and left. This is the only time he ever did that. We read the show, we read this Walnut show, and I remember this, he threw the script on the page. He said, I don't get it. He said, I don't get it. He said, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I said, Sheldon, it's my best effort. He says, it's your show. And he left. It was very sweet of him to just not say, you can't do that show. And so we did the show, and and it got a wonderful reaction from the audience. And that week, it got reviewed someplace very big. And Sheldon, he was so sweet. He was interviewed that week, and he talked about the fact that even he, who was so smart, he said, I can be wrong. And he actually apologized in print. I thought that was a big thing. But I remember that show because when you defend something, you say, I'm right, and you may be wrong, and you're right. You don't forget that. You don't forget. But I particularly remember that one.